Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters. You all know that since my return and release from Guantanamo Bay, I have been fighting against the torturous and oppressive policies of the so-called war on terrorism that has in de facto terms targeted you and the Muslim community around the world. When I was held in Guantanamo, I was held with 22 Uyghurs from East Turkestan in China, the Xinjiang province. And they say, every single one of those Uyghurs who were held and tortured by the Americans, they say, thank God, thank Allah that we were not handed over to the Chinese. Despite the torture and the abuse that I have been fighting for 15 years, I stand in front of you today to say that what the Chinese government has done in the name of the war on terrorism, because Xi Jinping, the leader of China, has used and utilized the language of George Bush's war on terrorism in order to enable this genocide of the Muslims in East Turkestan. It's important we understand this on the day that Donald Rumsfeld, the man who was the chief architect of the war on terror, died on this day. On this very day that the Chinese Communist Party celebrates its centenary, we commiserate what they have done to our brothers and sisters in East Turkestan. This systematic targeting of Muslims on the basis of their faith, removal of the ability to practice their faith, the shutting down of mosques and turning them into museums, banning people from fasting in Ramadan. In fact, some of the Uyghur brothers say to me this, think about this. You know, me and Cage have been campaigning against the Islamophobia for all of this time. And we say that Islamophobia in this country and beyond is rampant. Yet the Uyghurs say, we wish that we suffered the kind of Islamophobia that you do in the West. Imagine that for context. Imagine being forced to renounce your Shahada. Imagine being forced to learn the Chinese Communist Party manifesto in place of Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Imagine that for a second. Imagine being forced to drink alcohol. Imagine being forced to eat pork. Imagine being sent to a concentration camp and your children being sent to an orphanage while the child's parents are alive. That's what this government is doing. When they held a tribunal, a people's tribunal in this city, where people came from East Turkestan to give evidence as to the torture and the oppression they faced, that tribunal was headed by the man who headed the tribunal and prosecutions for the genocide of the Muslims in Bosnia. That's how serious this is, my brothers and sisters. So when we use the term genocide, we do not use it lightly, but that is what is happening. And if that is what is happening, we must say, dear brothers and sisters, no more. It must stop. And finally, I will say this. Most of us here, a large number of us, come from Muslim countries. And it is to our shame that the leaders of the Muslim world didn't only not condemn the Chinese government for what it did, they endorse the Chinese government's treatment of the Uyghurs. And that is a shame. For every single Muslim that stands here, you must send a message back to those governments. We stand here today in London, united together. Our different creeds and colors, our different organizations, our different backgrounds and age groups, and we stand as one and we say no to genocide, no to torture, no to oppression. Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Takbir!